The ABs have named 36 men, or rather Scott Robertson has named his 36 ABs that are going to compete in the Rugby Championship. It's only a couple of weeks and we'll have 15-a-side rugby back on the TV, and the games look like they're absolutely box office. I am heading back to South Africa because after the World Cup final and being there in Paris and seeing that rivalry between the two most decorated teams in rugby union, the Springboks and the All Blacks, I had to come and watch these games. I'll be there in Johannesburg, I'll be there in Cape Town, and on the strength of the squads that have been named for both of those sides, I am getting quite excited. Razor, well, he's swung the axe for some players and he's brought some back into the fold. The headlines here: Sam Cane is back, Will Jordan is back. Two significant names dropped, being Finlay Christie and Inamoni Narawa, with Ruben Love and Noah Hotham. Well, they're in on merit, but with an eye on the future there. And David Havili looks like a utility selection to deepen the squad. Those are the headlines, really. There is one other headline that the All Blacks released in the week, and that is that their skipper, Scott Barrett, has undergone surgery on a finger, and he's named in the squad. But I haven't had an update on whether he is available. The fact is that Josh Lord has been named outside of the 36-man squad, but he's basically on standby should Scott Barrett not be available. So that's definitely one to watch. I will just say, Scott Barrett, mate, missing these games is not an excuse. Do you see this Australian guy at the Olympics? Hockey player at the Olympics, and he had to have finger surgery. It was going to take a couple of months to recover, so he just chopped his finger off so that he could play at the Olympics. There you go, Scott Barrett. Really? You're a hard man? Well, let's see it, shall we? I quite like this squad, I've got to say. And the one thing I would say overall about Scott Robertson, the word that I would use to describe him, decisive. He has the courage of his convictions. He does what he wants. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to bow to public pressure. He's got the vision and he's got an identity. And in stark contrast to Ian Foster, who always struck me as never quite settling on what he wanted. Very good coach, but just didn't quite have that sort of steel conviction. This is my team, this is the best 23. So there's very few changes, but the changes that Scott Robertson has made, some of them are going to frustrate the odd fans, and some of them are going to be seen as a bit of a surprise. So let's go through position by position, starting with the hookers. I don't know when Samasoni Takiaho is going to return. 3 handy hookers in the meantime. Simple enough selection there. Prop, I really like the All Black Stabler props. They look very, very good. And a good age profile on them as well. I mean, quality of props that makes me as an Englishman quite jealous. I mean, I think Tosi looks like one for the future, but Fletcher Newell might be the best scrummager of the lot of them, and he's backing up Terrell Lomax, who is a world-class tight head prop. So, yeah, they're in a good place there. And, I mean, you could make the argument that the Springboks, who they come up against, have got a better scrummaging front row. Equally, they're all in their 30s. As I say, the age profile of this New Zealand front row is what I probably like the most, as much as the fact they are very, very good. Lock, this is where there is a concern. If there is one area of weakness in the New Zealand squad as things stand today, then it is at lock. And if Scott Barrett isn't available, that blows a massive hole in their lock stocks. Sam Darry looks like a real promising player. Tupu Vai, handy, but both unproven at the highest level. Patrick Tuipulotu hasn't had a lot of rugby at the top level for various reasons, mainly the fact that they've had two of the greatest locks in the history of the game that have been in the engine room for New Zealand for the last decade. So that's going to take some time to bed those new names in. That is a question mark over this New Zealand team. Loose forwards then, Sam Cane is in. What do you think about that? Leave your comments down below. I didn't say that actually. Yeah, get stuck in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up. Help me spread the word. Help spread the word of this channel, and also of how good the Rugby Championship is going to be. And hit subscribe if you haven't already. I like the Sam Cane selection. And again, there's some people pointing out he's on 95 caps. It's his last year of international rugby. That all leans into a thought that there's some kind of sentiment going on with this selection. I don't think there is. I don't think I honestly get the feeling about Scott Robertson, and please tell me if you disagree. I get the feeling if Scott Robertson didn't think he was worth his spot on merit, he would have no issues saying, sorry, Sam, you're just going to have to sit on the sidelines and wait. I think he is absolutely there on merit. And I used this phrase a little while ago when I was talking about Sia Khaleesi, who came in for a bit of criticism, well, from his boss, from the president of Racing 92 in France, no less. And it was a phrase that a friend of mine who was in the military, and he said the phrase is, and I'll say it again now, as I've said it on the channel before, you should always fear an old soldier. Because they've been there and done it. They've got the battle scars to prove it as well. And there's value in that. Massive value in Sam Cane. For all of the criticism that he got, you do not get to play 95 caps for the All Blacks, especially wearing the number 7 jersey, unless you are a serious talent. And I think, I mean, personally, I'd go for Dalton Papali'i as my starting 7. But I think there's an argument that he starts. I think there's a decent argument that he starts. And with all the versatility in the back row, that makes a potential bench spot possible. Hoskins Sotutu still on the outside, looking in. Some may feel that Ethan Blackadder is a little bit fortunate because in a black jersey at least he's not had the sort of dominating performances he's had for his club. But I like Blackadder as well. Do you agree or disagree with the centre? I say there's no sentiment in the Sam Cane selection. If you disagree with that, let me know down below. Scrum half then, this is very interesting. And talk about no sentiment, Finlay Christie, gone. See, I think he's a good player. But Scott Robertson did mention after that first England test how the pace of the game dropped off. And you sort of felt he was talking about Finlay Christie on that one after TJ Perenara's injury. TJ is back, I think maybe a little earlier than expected. And Cortez Ratima, he looks like the boy, doesn't he? He looks like the long-term heir to Iran Smith. Noah Hotham, inexperienced. I don't know. That was for me. Other people are more surprised about some other selections. That's possibly the one I'm most surprised about. I was just expecting Finlay Christie to be named, but again, as I say, Razor's just obviously seen something he likes or seen something he doesn't like, and that's it. It's done. I don't think it's over for Finlay Christie, but he's at this stage, well, definitely 4th, probably 5th choice, isn't he? With the other players out. So yeah, and TJ Perenara back in. That means we get an amazing haka, which very excited about, obviously. Fly half, D-Mac and Bodie. No worries there. That's all good. Sorry, not fly half. First 5/8. Apologies. I don't know what second 5/8 is at 12th, and where did the I need to look into that. I should know why they're called first 5/8. 5/8. 5. I'm trying to work that fraction out in my head. There must be a logical reason for it. I should know that, but I don't. Anyway, we call them fly halves in the UK. First 5/8 it is, and they're both great, and they can both play in different positions, which is one of the stories of the backline. Actually, when you look at the backline as a whole, you have got a lot of Swiss Army knife rugby players, people you can just slot in anywhere. And here's one thought: if Scott Robertson was going to kind of bring his coaching IQ to the table and was going to do something a little bit radical, he could with this New Zealand backline. I don't know what the rugby version of it was the Netherlands football team in the 70s and 80s. Just it was with Johan Cruyff invented. So I'm going really off piste here, aren't I? I didn't plan this at all. But they invented like total football, where there was no fixed position and it was all really fluid. You could do that with an All Blacks backline with the players that they've got. Centres, some eyebrows been raised at David Havili in the midfield. I think that any concerns over him is largely irrelevant because, again, for the reasons I mentioned, you look at the versatility of all of the players in the backline in general, and David Havili, he is 3rd choice at best in any given position, actually possibly even lower down the depth chart in it. He's just there because he can play a bunch of positions, and Razor knows him well. He's got experience, 29 years of age, and with quite a lot of youngsters, actually a bit of age can add something to your squad. Yeah, Razor knows the kind of bloke he is from working with him at the Crusaders. I don't know, maybe he's just a really good bloke. bearing in mind that for the most part he's going to be holding tackle bags, making up numbers in training, and he can do a solid job if called upon in a number of positions. Maybe this is one of those New Zealand no dickheads rule selections. I think he's a handy player. And yeah, interested more's the point about the midfield to see where the selection goes over the whole Rugby Championship. You still expect it to be Barrett Ioane for the Springbok games, which I'm so excited to be at. Did I mention that? Hit subscribe on the channel so you don't miss any of the content from South Africa, which will be coming up during the Rugby Championship. But is there going to be a handing of the torch? Could Billy Proctor get a start in a big match? Could Anton Linnett-Brown get a start in a big match? They were both excellent in their last game, obviously. Outside backs then, Noemoni Narawa. Will Jordan coming back in. That basically looks like the selection there, doesn't it? Narawa misses out because Jordan is back in. But Ruben Love, an uncapped squad member, is in. Outstanding in the Super Rugby this year. Low down in the depth chart, you feel. So I guess it's one of those where Scott Robertson is saying, well, I can have a look at him. I can bring him in. They have got 36 men named here. South Africa named 33. In a World Cup, there would be 33. So you do get a feeling there's a couple of selections where you're like, he's just bringing him in to have a bit of a look, put him under the microscope and see if he got what he thinks it takes. Caleb Clark's played himself into the squad. I don't think Narawa played himself out of the squad. He didn't have a lot of time, but that in itself probably tells a story, doesn't it? So no complaints for me. You'd think I don't know, what's the backline to start the Rugby Championship, or certainly for those games against the Springboks? I'd say at this point, I'm probably leaning towards Caleb Clark, Mark Telea and Will Jordan as a back three, potentially. Then I guess the question becomes, do you have Beauden Barrett as a one-man back bomb squad on the bench, or does he start 10? These are all pretty good questions to be able to have, aren't they? The New Zealand squad's in a good place, particularly that back line. You could come up with any number of combinations. You could have any number on most players' backs and they can just slot in anywhere. And that's something that I don't know. I haven't even given it a lot of thought. But could that be an evolution of this All Black team over time? We'll see. Yeah, I like it. Bring on the Rugby Championship, 10th of August. And they're playing Argentina, 2 games at home. Then they head to South Africa, as do I, and play the Boks in their backyard. They should be monumental matches. And then home and away against the old enemy, Australia. Looking forward to it. By the way, I am going to be doing another player power ranking video, and I'm on tight head prop today, but there's going to be one of those coming 6 p.m. UK time every single day. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.